Good afternoon, it's John Heaton, or is it? Today I'm reviewing Ringo's new album, which I've only just managed to get hold of because it took a while to come to Hungary, and thought I'd dress up like the cover. This is Ringo's first gatefold since 1976 from what I can work out, rotogravure. Very nice gatefold here, nice picture of Ringo in the middle and Ringo on the back, and I'll take this off now, shall I? Just did it for a laugh. So yeah, very pleased to have this, his first new album for 6 years, although he's come up with 4 EPs, which I think are ridiculous format, because you only get 4 songs and he charges 25 quid for the vinyl. So I've actually refrained from getting those EPs, apart from I think they got the first 2. And to be honest with you, the songs on those EPs are not memorable. So this one is at least a return to the fully fledged album. It's produced by T-Bone Burnett, the famous country producer and guitarist. It's got pretty good reviews out there, and I'll give you my review in a minute. Pretty positive for the most part, some of them ridiculously positive. One review said it's his best album for 54 years, which would mean it's his best album since Beaucoups of Blues, I assume. So I'm also in this video going to compare the new album to Beaucoups of Blues, because they're both country albums. So it kind of begs to be compared. He's dabbled with country since Beaucoups of Blues, quite a bit, but only sort of the odd track, you know. I did write down some country songs from his career. Step Lightly, I'm not quite sure what the definition of country song is, but anyway, these are country-ish songs. Step Lightly from 73, Husbands and Wives, the Roger Miller tune from 74, Crying from 76, Las Brisas from 76, Gave It All Up, Gypsies in Flight from 77, Sure to Fall, Carl Perkins cover from 81, and then Walk With You in 2010. And I think all of those forays into country are very successful. And actually, if I'm pushed, I don't think there's anything on the new album which actually approaches the quality of those ones I've just mentioned. But on the other hand, he has done some clunkers country-wise, like King of Broken Hearts from the Vertical Man album is a bit of a disaster in my opinion, and the single La Di Da is pretty forgettable, although it's reasonably catchy, I suppose. But anyway, back to the album. So just before I get to the album, Ringo's done a couple of concerts. He did a concert at the Ryman Theatre just a couple of days ago, and I was looking at the set list, and I was very pleased to see he's included Have You Seen My Baby, You Don't Know Me At All, and the track from Beaucoups of Blues, Without Her, as well as the Beatles song I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. But then I looked closer and I saw that Ringo was actually off stage for those numbers and other people are performing them, which is very disappointing, because if I had my way, I would basically ditch songs like Matchbox and Honey Don't, and if they're going to do a Carl Perkins one, why not do the Sure to Fall from 81 Carl Perkins cover with Paul McCartney on bass? That was very successful. Why not do that? I wouldn't want to hear Ringo sing With a Little Help from My Friends or Photograph or Yellow Submarine ever again. But I guess that's what the paying punters want to hear, perhaps. But I would prefer him to sort of sprinkle the set list with things like Snookeroo and a good 3 or 4 tracks from Beaucoups of Blues, like Fastest Growing Heartache in the West, and Losers Lounge would be great, and Wine, Women and Loud Happy Songs would also be great. But anyway, that his set list to me is very predictable, and the only pleasant surprises were the songs I mentioned, which he's not even on stage for. So anyway, the first thing I'll say about this album is it's not really a 100% country album. There's also my friend Dave Costello, rather amusingly, on the first day when we were listening to it on Spotify, said it's 50% good and it's 50% the usual manure. And what he meant by that, I think, is those kind of predictable stuff which Ringo's come up with almost in his sleep for the last 25 years. And unfortunately, there's quite a bit of that on this album. It's not 100% country like Beaucoups of Blues was, and the opening track, Breathless, is a case in point. Maybe the drumming is quite impressive, and the musicianship on this album is first rate throughout, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty forgettable opener, in my opinion. Look Up, the title track. Again, it's Ringo by numbers. We've had countless songs of this ilk in the last 25 years, and this really does nothing for me, although there's quite a charming video out there which is worth a listen, worth a watch or two. One thing I noticed about Ringo's vocal on the title track is it seems to be done in one take, as it were. So he seems to drop in a couple of notes on the vocal. I'm not sure what the reason was for that was, or if you agree with me, but I think it's in the chorus when he does a few notes and then he goes down a note, and that lower note seems to me to be dropped in with a different vocal take, which is very disappointing in my opinion. Anyway, it's an okay track, it's catchy, but he's done very similar tracks to this over the years. Time on My Hands, classic country track. Let's say classic. It's got lovely pedal steel guitar, it's got heartfelt lyrics, but I don't think it's the kind of tune I'm going to be playing in 2 or 3 years from now, 5 or 10 years from now. I don't think it's got longevity, but I could be wrong. Never Let Me Go is pretty tedious, repetitive. I Live for Your Love is okay, but the album's not off to a great start at all. And then luckily the second half gets better because it needs to, because Come Back is a great number, which I love. Can You Hear Me Call is absolutely brilliant. Rosetta, although it's not a country song with Joe Walsh, I think playing guitar is excellent. You Want Some, possibly the best track on the album for me. String Theory does nothing for me, and Thankful. Although it is a good track, Ringo's been doing this kind of track, as I say, in his sleep for the last 30 years, so it's really nothing to write home about. But the musicianship, the production is brilliant, and I want to show you the love that's been put into the packaging here. Because not only have you got the gatefold and the back cover, you've got a lovely poster, and you've got sleeve notes from Elvis Costello, who's good mates with T-Bone Burnett and friends with Ringo. Very complimentary sleeve notes, saying it's, at this moment in time, it feels like it's Ringo's best solo album by a considerable distance. So that is high praise indeed. And then this poster, which I'm not going to open out fully, but it's got all the words and several pictures of Ringo in cowboy outfit. So that was a pleasant surprise that the album comes with that. And the musicianship, Molly Tuttle is on vocals. Various famous country stars feature: Billy Strings, Larkin Poe, Alison Krauss, Lucius, and Paul Franklin, Dennis Crouch on bass, Daniel Tashian. No complaints about the musicianship, but at the end of the day, what I'm going to do is compare the two albums, and unfortunately on the songwriting, Beaucoups of Blues wins by quite a margin, in my opinion, in terms of the quality of the songs and the variety of the songs, and in particular the lyrical subject matter on Beaucoups of Blues covered things like gambling, murder, obviously having the blues, country sort of expectation, country song expectation. Prostitution is covered, war is covered, and on this new album it's a little bit narrower, and also there's only really one songwriter. I mean, Ringo co-writes the last track, but the rest of it's all written or co-written by T-Bone Burnett. A little bit lacking in variety as a result. Is it country sounding? If you ask me what the most country sounding record in my collection, it would be Nashville Skyline from Bob Dylan and Beaucoups of Blues from Ringo. This one feels like a country album for about 75% of it, but or say 70%, but the remaining 30% is kind of standard rock numbers or rock pop, catchy Ringo type fare. Particularly Breathless, Look Up, Never Let Me Go, Rosetta, and Thankful. Musicianship is pretty brilliant on Beaucoups of Blues and on this. The only reason I would I'm going to give the nod to Beaucoups of Blues is because the Jordanaires feature on vocals, and their bass vocal backing in particular is a great feature of Beaucoups of Blues, which is missing here. Vocals from Ringo, not bad on this new album. But on the Beaucoups of Blues, he sounds really sad when he's singing these songs, which is very appropriate for country material. Just show you the gatefold of this. This also came with the lyrics and a gatefold. So both country albums from Ringo feature a gatefold sleeve. It's good. So what else? The drumming. Yeah, Ringo's drumming on this album, which he didn't drum on Beaucoups of Blues. So that's a good feature for this album. But any amount of production, musicianship, or drums from Ringo can't really hide the fact that the songwriting is stronger on Beaucoups of Blues, and it's a little bit lacking here. Well, there's some good material, and I like 3 or 4 tracks a lot. And maybe a couple of them are going to grow on me. But anyway, songwriting, I would give Beaucoups of Blues a 9. I gave Look Up a 6. Lyrical content, which is kind of connected with songwriting, I gave a 9 for Beaucoups of Blues and a 6 for Look Up. Musicianship, 10 for Beaucoups of Blues and 9 for Look Up. Vocals, 9 for Beaucoups of Blues, 7 for this one. And country sounding, well, it's a 10 for Beaucoups of Blues and it's a kind of 7 for this. Overall, I've given Beaucoups of Blues a 9, and this one a 6 or a 6.5 if you're feeling generous. Is it going to feature in Ringo's best of albums rankings? Well, I can tell you off the bat, having listened to it 7 or 8 times so far, it's not as good as Beaucoups of Blues. It's not as good as virtually anything he did in the 70s, in my opinion. It's pretty decent compared to the stuff he's come up with for the last 25 years, and you can tell the love of the packaging that Ringo rates it. He likes it, and I notice he's been including 3 tracks from the album on his recent tour. Time on My Hands, Look Up and Thankful, but only one of those tracks is a bona fide country song, so a little bit disappointing that he can't do more country songs in his set list and do actually perform some of the songs from Beaucoups of Blues. Anyway, Elvis Costello, in his sleeve notes, he was listening to this album on the train a couple of times and sort of giving his thoughts to the producer, his mate T-Bone Burnett, and he's reproduced those thoughts here. That's Ringo on the back there. And one of the things he says, which is a little bit over the top in my opinion, is it's as if we're listening to the follow-up to Beatles for Sale, where Ringo is singing vocal on every track. Well, that is definitely high praise indeed, and I wouldn't go that far. But he is in good voice, he's in good spirits, and even though the last track is predictable, it is heartfelt lyric about where Ringo is these days, peace and love, and thankful to Barbara, who has been the cornerstone of his life for so many years. So there's a lot to recommend this. I wouldn't be without it. I'm glad he's around. 84, it's amazing. You see the interviews on breakfast TV and stuff. Gets up at 7:30 every morning. And I'm glad he's producing music. It's just that I wouldn't be quite so complimentary as to where this album stands in his catalogue. You can disagree, of course. It's only my opinion, but thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.